and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am.
Hello there everyone, and welcome to this video with me today. Today is actually Mary's Ascension Day, which is a sacred day when the energies or the essence in itself of the Divine Mother of Life can be truly really felt. Okay, so we had a long period of many light activations and meditations of the late, because these are very turbulent, chaotic times, and as the third dimensional realm of existence is experiencing this chaos in its own way, the way we, the spiritually inclined beings of light, workers of light, family of the light, are feeling this, can be a state of internal confusion maybe, because I'm going to share a lot of messages that came through very long, very lengthy light activation today. I haven't been sharing as much as I used to in terms of light activations, because what I'm doing now is so much inner work that there's not enough time to do the inner and share everything. It's just too much for me, because the energies are also very intense and we're feeling tired. We're feeling tired in our bodies because we're just assimilating so much, so many new codes of light. So what came through today specifically, before we go deeper into the message, and actually started yesterday, because we had another breakdown experience where the old just felt like it's a tower, it's like crumbling down, and it no longer feels like it's bringing a sense of fulfillment. And then how do we move on? How do we create the new? And a lot of times we're at these moments of confusion. We're plugging in the old mind, the construct, which wants to understand things. It wants to analyze and wants to get the best solution. And the mind is always and has been programmed to find solutions, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there is a sacredness in manifesting through the feminine principle of life, which we are building on since this entire year with the 11 gateway frequency, and the 2, which is partnership, and embracing creation through partnership and synergy and harmony through life. So a lot of those times when we're feeling those energies, we want to jump, for the first gun, or, however they call it. We want to make that first kind of like a change, like we want to see or get clarity, and we don't always get it, and we're asking, why is there no clarity? I want to understand this. Give me, divine guidance, and as long as I know what to do, I'm going to make the next step. So we're used to functioning this way. But as I've shared with you, we're embracing more and more of the mystery and mysticism of the sacred feminine principle of life. So as this rewrite is occurring, we're not always in the complete know-it-all, how this is happening. So the first thing that really came through yesterday as we entered this state of meditation was that now everything is so chaotic in a way, because these dimensional shifts are occurring, that it's like you're trying to find an answer for something, and this already births a new, a question to something. This already births a new question, and then it's so much is intertwined that we don't get or receive messages linearly anymore. Like you ask something, you get a response, and it's just different. And you're sometimes in the not knowing stage, and you're looking up or somewhere, looking within. It doesn't matter. It's that presence that you're birthing, and you're wondering what's happening. Why am I not, why am I not getting something? Maybe I should readjust to plan B. Well, I'm not getting the answers for plan A. This is how we're thinking, because it's always like we're receiving. We're still in that receiving mode of linear timelines, okay? Timelines that are moving forth from the center. But we haven't yet really embodied the connection, which is the spark of life that connects all these timelines and these multiples or multitudes of multidimensional realities. So the key here is that multidimensional consciousness as a true living embodiment is not yet fully keyed in or locked in into our earthly vessels or embodiment. So we did this long meditation today, and it finally made sense why sometimes we have certain images, they don't come true. We have certain things, we really feel them, but they don't come true. Have you ever wondered why this is so? So the Divine Mother of Life has many messages to share through me today. And I'm starting with this one, okay? So our world, as you know, is in very turbulent, shifting times. And as people who are still a part of the living construct, which we call the matrix, these people are experiencing this confusion in their own way. So today is during this beautiful sacred holiday. It's really not a holiday, you know, people take it as a holiday. There's a mass influx of people here, even in our village. It's just a tiny village. People come here to exercise, to go to nature, but in a very overcrowded kind of way. And it's like people are always nowadays using this as something like the next route to go to, the next destination, the next route of escape. And this is also part of chaos because no one knows how to stand still anymore. Okay, this is how they manifest these energies. Those of us who are already, you know, spiritually inclined and connected, we might feel this as an inner confusion, like you're manifesting something, you're not getting complete clarity or answers. Like, you know, you're trying to embrace, we have been trying, not trying, but we have been truly embracing the feminine principle of life throughout this whole year. As you felt yourself, you're softening, you're moving more with grace and ease. You know, like for me, for instance, I used to like force myself, like I'm going to go do this exercise, and now if I don't feel it, I won't do it. I'm going to go into another mode of exercise that really nourishes me more at the level of what my body needs now, not what I think is good for me. And it's really a construct of the old. Okay, so the point here is that the reality during these dimensional shifts, as we're anchoring all these dimensional realities, and it's happening for Earth and us, it's a mirror, right? Our own micro world is a representation of greater macro world. So what is happening is we might feel different scenarios, but they don't all come true. Like in one version of the self, you have a vision, you have this retreat center, you're doing this and that. That doesn't come true, okay? Doesn't mean it's not already true. So this is what we were shown today. There's these layers of our consciousness expression in our multidimensionality. Now everything's opening up. Imagine before Earth was like sealed in. It was like, it had a protection seal. It was almost like in a quarantine zone, which is how it was called. And after the harmonic convergence, this started to open up, first slowly, gradually building up towards 2012. And now it started to have such a rapid pace that, you know, with increasing cosmic waves and solar flares, solar energy, the sun has become so impactful, so strong in terms of its magnitude that I remember years back, I could go to the beach and be on the sun until noon, and then I really went into the shade and did my own thing. And only much later in the afternoon, I could go in the sun again. The body felt it's not too strong, the radiation of the sun. Now, this is no longer true. Sometimes it's 10 a.m. already, and it's so strong, the radiation. And what I've noticed here all over the place, I'm seeing the effects of all these changes is all the plants here, all the trees, like pine trees, they're all drying up. And it's not because we had like a heat wave, it's so dry, because we had only 2 weeks of real summer here, actually. It's ending now. It's like, it feels like the fall has come, the energy, but everything is now yellow and red. And when you look at the great hills, it's all burnt, and it looks like it's burnt. And it's all trying to adjust to this fast-moving frequency of the new, and our bodies are trying to adjust, and it's just so much. And at the same time, when this is happening at this cellular structure level, it's also the shifts of our spiritual creation that are shifting. I'm going to share more about this in different topics because I've received how to create now through the invocation of the Elohim principle, because I haven't done a message on this for a while, and it's just so many activations and messages came through. I couldn't. It was too much for my body to try to get it all in video. But, you know, I'm going to do it in its own divine course and really allowing the body when there's readiness at the level of everything, which now also is in alignment with what the message of this multidimensionalities was coming through, wants to be shared, is there's aspects of us that are already experiencing that on that level. And understanding the feminine principle of life, the principle of giving life, giving birth to life, giving life its own creation and not controlling it. Like, you know, the great gods that, you know, co-created the human race, and they made them their own way, and many times even created them in their own little slaves, not their extensions. You see, things are falling. Yeah, fall is here. Falling, fall. And the divine principle of life, through that true love, divine love is whatever you create, you then kind of like, you're not attached to it through your own means of control, which means the life you've given birth to is its own sovereign identity or entity that will move in its own expression of life. So that message of that unfiltered, unbound, really free creation, we already understand that that is the true principle of giving life through divinity, not the distorted, genetically altered and artificially programmed life, which truly isn't life born through the feminine principle. And the second message of how we're now shifting, it's really intense, because imagine you're creating all your life like this, then suddenly this dimensional fusion happens, and we're being so wired, we're giving so much, and it doesn't all always align with the way our physical lives are, and we're trying to put it into a perspective. Why? And we're trying to grasp on into the old ideas of these patterns, beliefs. Okay, what do we have? What do we still need to heal? That's old. I'm being shown. Those of you who've done this, like I've shared before, you have managed to birth your own sacred child. What is occurring now at this point is this will have to have its period of adjustment, that this divine child will have its period of, growing into within ourselves, and truly allowing or getting this freedom to activate this freedom to create in this new divine way. But this doesn't happen overnight, okay? So that's why maybe sometimes we're bombarded with self-judgment and criticism, because why is this not happening the way it should be? The manifestation plans state this, the universal principles say this, create through the law of attraction. It's really not like that, because imagine like there's a whole new rewrite happening, because before we were creating, it was easy to create in a linear fashion. It was like superficial, more like surface level, before moving into this. Imagine like holding all 12 dimensions in your physical form simultaneously at the same time. And even in these books channeled from the Pleiadian collective, they said this is not an easy task to do, but you can do it. And we're doing it gradually, and we're activating it, then we're growing into it, and again we're activating, and then we're growing into it. And when these things are happening, you already know you're finding yourself tired and sometimes even exhausted, and you can't really serve on or offer your services to the world before you feel you're being served first, because that is the operation through the sacred feminine principle of life. Okay, so I'm going to apply this to the example of I want to move, because this is the desire here in my example. And if I'm doing it the way I did it before coming here, the way I did it was so structured, it was so rigid, it was so difficult. It was actually really difficult, and it exhausted us for even a few weeks, just feeling that depletion after, because it was almost based on that sacrifice, right? And now through the feminine principle, that's that natural unfolding when we're allowing the birth to occur magically. But we've forgotten how that feels like. So when this is not already in compliance with what we believe it should be, then we say, oh, we doubt it. That's not going to happen. Oh, it must be an delusion. But it's more about allowing that to truly have that faith that it is happening this way. And we get these nudges of doubting it, because it is in between the process. Imagine this simultaneous like web of you get one desire, you get questions that are arisen from that, and you don't always find the answers. But if you did, the answer in itself will already change, because during your consciousness that kind of went around it, the shift already took place, so you couldn't get a definite answer. So yesterday when we meditated, the team of light said there's so many questions, and yet there's no answers at this time, because everything is just so much in flux. And it's almost like that feeling of don't even try to seek it, don't even try to, even seeking answers sometimes is a part of control, is a way of control. And it's like what we want now is to understand what is the authentic creation through the multidimensional application of life, the principle of life that is expanded, it's open, that's dimensional, not just limited in a certain structure of what we perceive as to be the only dimension and the only case of reality. But this is allowing all of our body to eventually comply with that, because we can understand it, we can grasp on it, we can have a sort of like, we can put it in our spiritual awareness, but how it will become embodied through us, we don't have like an exact formula for that. And this is where the mystery again kicks in, and this is what the divine mother of life is reminding us of this patience for what she's trying to, or birthing naturally through all of us. But we have to allow ourselves to be the vessels, to not be analytical, to not doubt it. Each step is already an answer in itself. So we were shown, and yesterday I made this sentence, it was like a statement, when we always say, oh, just if you have your faith in God, then all is okay. But truly, a lot of us, we don't know what that is, what God truly is, okay? We're seeing it like this omnipresent beingness that, is in charge of everything. But we know that there's an aspect of Source that's always growing through its own creations without controlling them. That's true divinity. It's like half gods or demigods, they're always controlling their creations. That's why they only remain at the level of demigods. Not really, really divine beings of light, or light beings who can create through divine principles, they always create through a certain distortion because they separate from that part of divinity, which is the uncontrolled and allowing everything and all life to unfold, because it's a birthing of creation that's sovereign. And you don't have now, you know, even if you were the one birthing it, you contributed to that process or co-created. You're not like an ownership of it. And now this ownership we have on our planet is a result of that demi structure, right? Demi-gods, demi-infusion, a lot of light and dark stories playing out. So for us to understand how it is to love through the creation love, or the love of Divine Mother, or the mother of all life, is to embrace this feminine principle of life, of being not attached to the way these creations are birthed through us. And to understand now that at this time much is happening dimensionally through this fusion that we don't always have answers to, and the rules that were written in many books, even these books from the Pleiadians, like now I'm doing the Earth, is very cool. It's so much beauty in it. But not all that's in it now complies with our now, because the way the spiral of creation has unfolded until then, like 20 or more years back, it's already shifted. So there's a trajectory of, that we can't really put a label on. No one has the answers now. In a more linear reality, people went to psychics. They got predictions that really basically most of the time came true. But now this isn't a reality anymore for those of you who've really stepped into multidimensional consciousness. Because things that are happening, like I said, you can imagine like being layered, like there's layers of the onion, and on each layer there's a level, there's a realm, where something is a part of you, your experience. You have so many aspects of you. And many times you have visions from these other realms that you're energetically kind of like reprinting or re-imbuing your own DNA now. You're like taking from that light DNA, putting it into structure, your physical DNA, activating certain gifts. That doesn't mean that the vision you're getting will be the direct translation in this material world. We're now part of, physical world. Material world is something different, okay? So what I mean by this is allowing that all of this simultaneous time realities, multidimensional realities, are in compliance with each other, that they are in parallel, but not just in parallel, they're also in unison, because there's a great connectivity of life that connects all of these. And we as humans don't always see that. We don't always see this bigger picture, so we're trying to map it out in our own way, linearly, creating these structures, and it doesn't work, okay? So when this doesn't work, when we feel like we've hit a wall, when we're trying to get answers but nothing comes, and we feel like there's something wrong with us, am I not guided anymore? Am I doing something wrong? Am I not creating physically? Maybe I should be more physically active. Maybe I should finally change my life the way this and that. But something within you still tells you to hold still, because there's a greater manifestation or creation through life that wants to be born through you or through us. And this is when maybe we, during this dimensional shift, will feel one time to make a move and the other not to make a move. And we're going to feel that as a point of confusion, because we feel that's a part of separation. The moment we understand that there's a glue called divine love in everything, divine mother, principle of life, we will understand that there is no separation. Because of this, like they showed us yesterday, like these clouds, one cloud comes, you think, have you ever observed clouds in the sky? They go like this and they're moving a certain way. So you say to yourself, oh, now the sun will be revealed. And you're expecting it to happen within a few minutes, you're observing, but then suddenly another one comes, and what you've expected to happen, observing just one cloud, because there's so many, it didn't happen. And it's like weather. They can't predict weather anymore. It's like when I look at the weather prediction on the iPhone, it's always wrong. It's never the right one, because we are now in this belt of energy that's like simultaneous time that we haven't really embodied. We can understand it at a certain level, but practically we don't, because the whole of the template, the whole of the structure hasn't truly shifted. Okay, so it's almost like you have a blueprint for the building in architecture, but you haven't yet made a building in itself. So the blueprint is now shifting, but the building itself is not yet fully built. So we're doing that within ourselves first. The planet is doing it, we're doing it in parallel with the planet and planetary consciousness. And the mother of all life is just simply telling us or reassuring us that it's all a part of this process, that between all these dimensions that are not just parallel, there's a fusion and even infusion of light that all are simultaneous. And so if you imagine yourself, if you have a moment when you doubt that this will come about, let's say you imagine, oh, I'm going to have this retreat center and that will happen and I live in this house, and maybe one day you imagine yourself living alone, one day you imagine yourself living in community, and it doesn't make sense to you, and just embrace all those opportunities. That is what multidimensional consciousness means. But don't become attached to what will be translated into this physical world at this time, because basically you don't know, and I don't know. And if we say we do, we're basically really feeding our ego, thinking like we are the master psychics who know everything. Sorry, even the psychics have to become more humble down if they truly want to be a part of this new dimensional shift and true ascension in this cosmic union. So I also want to remind you, before moving to the next topics, there is a gateway of Divine Mother's Love that is on my webpage. I think 1 year, I don't know how many years back, it was exactly created on Mother Mary's Assumption Day. And it was a really beautiful walkthrough, embracing that principle within you. So you can find that on my page. Yeah, the link is down below. As also Divine Fathers, I think. It's also the Ascension Gateway there. There's both, okay? So the first thing I want to do, before I tell you a little bit about the activation with it, I want to read you a paragraph here. It's very simple, from Earth. The chapter is called Galvanization of the Goddess. And it says, embracing the goddess will open the living library to you and teach you the secrets held deep within the bosom of Mother Earth, for who is the Earth Mother if not the goddess herself? When you think of Prime Creator, what or whom do you picture? In your society, you have been taught that the God energy represents the source and that the feminine energy represents the use or the activity of it. We would say that it is the other way around. The feminine represents the source and the masculine represents how the source is used. It is true that Prime Creator is a female vibration. The source as we know it is a feminine vibration. The consorts of this feminine principle, the male vibration, in competition for love of the goddess, began splintering off in a misuse of energy millions of years ago. We already know that as the story of that creation that was based on separation, or demigods and all that came to be. So you are one fragmented part of that misuse of energy. Okay, so your planet must learn that the goddess is a creator. You must. Understanding the dark side of the goddess is a part of exploring her energy, because the goddess did something to lose her power. That was a part of the play that took place here. It is in the cells of your being, because all of you, man and woman alike, have the goddess within you. So now they explain then that there came a time within the goddess realm when there was a tremendous abuse of the male vibration. So it started with the feminine cycle, which took power. She was the dominating force, and then it was the other way around as we know it now in patriarchy. And we have been now overlaid with a negative, controlling, godlike energy, and it is time for the goddess to be acknowledged. The goddess simply meaning the aspect of life that is a birthing aspect of life. There is a balance that is needed, with no worship of one vibration over the other. There is no ownership of becoming co-creator beings and gods in our own sovereignty. We don't understand what this divine triangulation is and how the sacred child through divinity can be birthed, because it just keeps on, propelling the old story forward. Like it keeps on, like we're consuming on ourselves, because we're not really creating with that third energy aspect. We haven't really embraced the divine trinity of life. We're constantly creating lesser creations, and this is what is happening in this world. That is why now so much entropy and chaos abound, because we have been doing this dance for so long. So men, in honoring the goddess, will learn to honor life. Women will learn to redefine how they bring life into being. Life can come in one heck of an orgasm at childbirth. This is an area in which you are going to restructure your beliefs and experience. When you explore the goddess, you begin to value life. When you value life, you don't overpopulate Earth and you don't kill. So they then go into the blood mysteries. They go into explaining how menstrual blood is sacred. It's an elixir of life, how we can use it. I really advise you to go deeper into that by reading the book. All these sacred, ancient, mysterious aspects that basically were just practical usage of revitalizing ourselves in physical form that the demigods did not want the humans to have. And there was a fighting over, one wanted them to have this gift, one not, because then it would become too much godlike and equal to them. And it was chosen to be hidden from them, so it went more and more into this distortion and very falsified rituals, like they explain later in Christianity, and like trying the masculine vibration, trying to find the power of the blood that the feminine naturally carries within, because they're not creating it, they're only experiencing it outside of themselves, the masculines. So they explain it was perpetuated through war. But war is based on killing, and it's a division, it's separation, it's a taking away of life, not giving life. So this was also not done through divinity, as you know, okay? So then they also explain, you know, the blood as the DNA and as the codes of life, and how this elixir can revitalize, so there can be exchange between the masculine and the feminine, especially during the when the woman is menstruating, and how this was distorted, and all of that it's shared. And it's so important because the color red is an expression of her physicality, and it's what invites the spirit in. So the physical has to invite the spirit in. You are the sum total of yourself in physical form because of your blood. And then they talk about body work that's changing your blood, and the blood through the bones, and the bones are the structures, the skeletal structures where information is stored and it's held. And then when blood is coming out of it, so if that structure is changed through the vibrational attunement and altering of your frequency, blood is also more and more sacred each time that you purify and refine your frequency. That's what we're doing. And that's why at certain times there were certain that were called the royals. Basically before now, these royals that are distorted royals, they were the royals that actually held that purity, okay? And then to talk about these like rituals, fertilization with the menstrual blood, and how you can even use it to heal, how the ancients use it to heal wounds, how this was suppressed in Christianity. So it's all about fertility, and fertility means that ability to give birth. And when the feminine principle is embraced within, that means that the feminine will give a call out for life. Like something you want to create, first you will give out a calling, and then allow for the counterpart, which is that masculine frequency, to come in. And then when the fusion as the divine sacred child will give an impulse of what action needs to be taken, and everything will come through that alignment. This is where we can be now. No longer just creating just through the masculine or just through the feminine, which if you see it without the masculine counterpart, it's like being passive, just waiting for something. So it's like, instead of seeing it as being passive in the feminine principle, it's like seeing ourselves to call in, to magnetize the masculine aspect that is divine masculine, not the learned, distorted masculine, which we were almost like imprinted, or, you know, like conceived into taking on as our belief how to create, whilst the power of our true creation, and I'm going to talk about this in another segment, how the power of the Elohim, like I am the Elohim consciousness, creates through this sacred knowledge of spiritual principles, sacred geometry and form. This is what we were doing, and it really worked. It really worked. I'm really embracing and invoking that aspect of the self. So yes, in the days ahead, contact the goddess, open your heart, and discover where the bleeding can take you and teach you, for within the bleeding process lie many of the keys to bringing the goddess back onto the planet. There is a need to return to the sharing of power through partnership. And what you need to do completely and totally as men and women is honor the goddess vibration that comes through your hearts and helps your hearts open. And there's also here a statement, this is my body, this is my blood. Okay, so there was many distortions about this. When you truly see it through unity, what you can create with is generate life. And when they did these old rituals, they made them the drink, the blood, and all these things, like even, you know, in the animals. And they especially talk here about that taking the body and blood in, right, ingesting it, invites a sense of cannibalism, and is based on an ancient and unhealed reptilian infusion, because when anything dies and you're consuming it, you're doing this out of separation. So whenever there's a sacrifice for something that wasn't served, just served one aspect of life, there is a division there. Like, I can't serve someone through the feminine principle of life if I'm not being served myself first. If, let's say, I'm not rested, I don't get enough sleep, I don't have wellness in my life, and then I'm trying to serve someone because I feel I have to or I need to. This is not done from the union principle that's birthed through embracing the feminine principle of life that activates and calls in the masculine counterpart, and together they co-create. So that's what truly is the meaning of illumined divine union. And they talk about the moon and influences of the moon. That's all really interesting, and the procreation, and I'm going to read that. So the energy of the goddess is moving rapidly, ready to work with those of you who are willing to remember her call. Her instructions are to honor your bodies on earth and your sexuality, because it is through this process that you are all created. And we were almost like programmed that this is bad, the blood and bleeding is dirty and it's terrible, when in fact it was such a gift. It was an elixir of life. You can even put it on certain parts of your own body. Like if it's nurturing the garden and it's like fertilizing it, it can fertilize because it has these cells, you know, like not exactly the same wall as stem cells, but it's like a birthing energy there. And that's why it can heal, because the birthing of anything is like a natural healing. It's not even a remedy, it's just what it is. Okay? Okay. Let's see. It's still about that. This is something interesting I want to read as well, because it relates to the myth of, you know, Adam and Eve and how humans were created. In the myth of the Garden of Eden, the female vibration was given the name Eve. She was not the first female, of course. It is the goddess who makes life. Later, the story was changed to make it appear that the male vibration had the ability to make life. In this version of creation, woman sprang from the rib of a man. This is not so. And obviously those of you who know, you were like, what the heck? This is just not true. It is always the goddess who knows the scoop on making life, because it is the goddess who carries the blood. And in the female, when in the physical form as the females, we are a direct translation of that energy of giving life. So the Bible relates to the story of the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. The tree of knowledge allows you to be informed. Sexual ability and practice equate to the tree of knowledge, the tree that humans were forbidden to eat from. They were then forbidden to participate as well with the tree of life. And what is the tree of life? Many think that the tree of life is something that grows a fruit. It is rumored that through ingesting this fruit of the tree of life, you can gain immortality. In ancient times, it was understood that this fruit was the blood of the goddess. This was the fruit of the tree of life. Think of your body and your nervous system as a tree. The stories are not talking about fruits on trees, but to the fruits of the body, the secretions and the substances that are indeed gifts of the gods. For eons, the gods have been steering you away from this knowledge. Okay. The goddess has the ability to put her secrets into blood, because it is blood that creates. This is why women bleed and why women have been steered away from honoring their bleeding. These are pivotal things. And now the last aspect. I'm sorry, we have a chopper here. I should wait it out a bit. To be alive is to know the goddess. Look for this force in yourself and in everything around you, and then say, show me, goddess, who you are. I want to meet you. When most of you thought of Prime Creator as a male personification, you had no problem. Now switch to female. Some of you can't conceive of it. Life comes from the female vibration. Eve did not come from the rib of Adam. That tale served to empower the male vibration, which desperately needed to have some kind of identity during the fighting of the goddess culture. When you seek balance inside yourself with male and female, in the ideal, you will draw to yourself a partner who is balanced in the same way. This is the important part here. Inner balance means that you're your own source, and that your next step is to pull your source with another in order to feel and become a bigger source. Not that you necessarily need a mate, however, your natural process is to build something together, to put your keys together as male and female aspects. These aspects correspond to physiological aspects that convey you into the spiritual and emotional realms. Androgyny represents a divine aspect of the integrated male and female. Each of you have stored in you the vital force called Kundalini, which is an expression of the energy of creation. But a large majority of people on the planet, however, do not understand that there is a force within them. And if you want to know more how to become a master of your own life force, which of course is a Kundalini aspect as well, there is a Tantrika Life Force Mastery course on my page under Mastery Courses. But I want to read the last sentence here. The goddess in her compassion allows. That means allowing everything. Yes? Sorry about that. There was people coming. Again, the goddess in her compassion allows. Embracing the goddess energy within yourselves will bring all of you to a new understanding and valuing of life, and a new and deeper love for all of creation. Embracing the goddess will open the living library to you and teach you the secrets held deep within the bosom of Mother Earth. For who is the Earth Mother if not the goddess herself? Yes, we already read that. So I've talked about this before, that to embrace the goddess is not to put a woman on the pedestal. It is to embrace how life is created. That is what this basic teaching means. And as a part of the Elohim family of light, who are here to teach about the sacred principle of life, we're actually here as aspects or counterparts of, like, extension or extended version in the physical representation of what it means to give life, how to gift life through the purity of spiritual infusion, so that the Holy Spirit within you, through your chalice, can become an actual representation. So when there's anything that wants to be birthed in the physical human realm, first has to be seen as equal to the spirit, that which we say was the spirit itself. It's just pure life force. But when we don't see physicality as an equal, that also is held within this greater web of love, there's always going to be an element of distortion there. Okay, there's a huge spider right now on my golden backpack, right where it says activist 22. Wow. And as you know, the spider represents the web of creation, the web of all life, the great creatrix, the design for everything. And this is just, I wish I could show you. I have these animal synchronicities, it's just amazing. Now I want to move into that part which we did through the activation. I won't share the whole activation because that again would make the video too long, but I will show you the keys of what you can do to step maybe more deeply, more wholly into this new alignment, which is the alignment when you want whatever you're creating, whatever you're envisioning for yourself, to first be an element of that surrendered reality, which is no longer linear, but you understand that there's multidimensional amplitudes that affect your manifestations. And you don't always have all the answer, which means you don't always have to seek them. So there's questions, yes. But when we have these questions, we can always turn them into triggers that create responses of what we wish to create in the moment. And whenever you state your intentions, you can then create them as offerings to what is the sacred channel, this channel of love. And knowing that, how can love, if it's a glue of everything, not know what it's doing through us? And for us to become those divine vessels, we have to let go of so many preconceived notions and ideas about everything. Okay, so the first message that I received was when I was asking about the divine union, the Illumined union. There was 2 cards falling out. The first one was, and this is, okay, sorry, from the Mother Mary Oracle. Okay, this is from Alana Fairchild. Really beautiful cards. I really needed them today. They needed to be my companions. And the first one was Our Lady Who Prevents Interference 22. And this talks about, well, let me just read the first scoop, because there's the short description and then there's longer descriptions. It says, your inner light is growing, my beloved, and through love you're attracting many who can be nourished by you. As the love in you blossoms, there are others who are captured in fear who may feel threatened by you and wish to obstruct your growth. I am your salvation and protection, for my love is greater than any fear. Place your loving trust in me. You shall not be harmed, nor shall you be swayed from your inevitable spiritual success on my path of love. I prevent spiritual sabotage from succeeding. The success in your path through me is the triumph of spiritual freedom. This is a message that, although everything is of love, it's born of love, in this realm we don't always experience it, which means there will be setbacks. There will be people who want to nag at us, people who are influenced, let's say, by these astral entities that they understand that we're doing good and they want to prevent this. And they're using these people. And recently I was shown this because I was asking for some of these people, why are they so vile and mean? Because it feels like they're doing this in vain. And the guidance was very direct. They said, these are Luciferian creations. I was like, what? And as you know, there was gods, these benevolent beings who operate through the Holy Trinity of life, which is the Holy Spirit. And they're known to us as the sacred Elohim. And I talk about them as my family of light. But there was also those who separated themselves from the sacred principle of godliness, of holiness, of completion in itself. They wanted to be separate from it, so they created in this distortion way, and we know that as Luciferian creation. So there's beings even now on the planet who were designed by those creations. They're aspects, translations of that energy manifesting into form. So not all beings are equal in the way we were created, although the source of everything is always one source. But in the way they were created, they're different. And for us, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Why are they like this? Why are they channeling such heavy and such dark and vile, even evil at times, energies? And this is what they showed me. So through that trigger, I was shown how to create through the Elohim principle of life. So always, as you know, the darkness triggers the light to come more in its power. So this was the message that said, yes, there are forces that are trying to prevent even what you might call the union with your beloved. Because when you come together, you hold even greater power than the sum of its parts. So yes, but there's love present, and when you work with that love and divine protection, there's nothing truly that can hold you back. This is, if something is destined and you are in complete faith and knowing of this process, this cannot be. This holds no power, because when you remember that even chaos is just like an part that's put in as, it's like existing within a greater form of universal harmony and divine law and order. So it's just a temporary expression or experience within something, but it's not like whole in itself. So then the next one was Our Lady of Manifest Miracles, and this is number 11, and which talked about allowing ourselves basically to become as vessels, because the fusion of spirit and matter, and I've talked about this for eons, I guess, not just here and now. In many of these realms, multidimensional realms, I'm doing the same thing in a different way and form, maybe not always looking like this, probably. But it is about this. This fusion really wants to be born, and it says, love seeks to manifest through you as you. It is not only your spirit that is to be blessed by love, but your body and your life too. You are meant to live a reality of divine love. You are meant to experience the presence of the divine in everyday life. Your spiritual life and material existence are not destined to be separate, but rather to be united, enhancing each other, infusing each other with love and sacred relationship. My miracles are not limited to the world of spirit. They manifest in the material world as signs that divine love is alive and in the here and now. Will you be a willing channel for my miraculous manifestations? And then it also mentions, these examples. And ordinary people became saints only by really trusting this, the mother of life, when they were called through its presence, that they're supposed to do or create something through it. And then did it, and it kind of lifted them up in their own embodiment and their frequency, and we knew them as saints or sages. So it is time now to put your spiritual principles to the test. It is time to rely on them completely as a way to live and move in the world. Not just have it internally, but don't trust it when it comes to what is actually taking place in the physical. It is not only safe to do this, but the only way to really allow her miraculous love to manifest through you. Doing this will mean that all that is destined to be born through you this lifetime can then be. You are being blessed by the Holy Mother, empowered by her, and asked to trust completely in her grace. And this is that initiation really through fire. And that fire is that perseverance and courage. Like, you understand that there is a balancing of this within this duality playing out. But when you stay in this benevolent presence and every day invoking this holiness, Holy Spirit, Divine Mother, whatever you call it, just feeling yourself as a present of this greater web of life that the spider is telling us, and it's there, just resting there in my golden backpack. And it's just knowing that, and it's enough. And every day making the intentions that the path through which divine illumined union manifests is only possible this way, not controlling and wanting to make it happen a certain way, but knowing that love is already birthing through us. It's like we seek an answer in a linear form, but what we're doing in the moment is already a part of that prayer and answer. So when a prayer is invoked in an action-based consciousness, it is already stirring the energy within you. It's not like you pray and then you passively wait for something to come or show up. That's really the old way when people felt separate from divinity. So then we did a really beautiful activation. And first I did the sacred cross with the messages of above, below, and then it's left and right, which means the masculine and feminine principle of life in our horizontal expression. So the vertical expression, the cards were, of the above was Our Lady of Passion, which, as you know, talks about passion in your sacred heart moves you. It's that passion of the soul that knows the mission. It knows where to drive you, where to be, how to be. It's just trusting that. And the below, and it was funny because it was 9 and 6, because the below was number 6, Our Lady of the Dark Mysteries. This is also, in a way, the spirit 9 is many times represented as the number of spirit, seraphim, holy presence, and 6 is, you know, like more of an earthly vibration, give and receive, Earth and Venus, you know, these counterparts. So it's the Lady of the Dark Mysteries. It's knowing that we are initiated, like I said before, through the light just as much as we are through the shadow, and vice versa. But it is knowing that many times the confusion, the chaos, the challenges are also part of love. Really feeling that all of what we're going through, just bring love into it. It's not separate from it. There is a reason for it. And many times, you know, I feel I'm no longer at the right place where I need to be, but then I'll go for a run or something, and I see a person really smiling at me. And that day I know, oh, I needed to see that person, or that person needed to exchange energy with me for some reason. And whenever I think of that, I have these goosebumps. And there's much of the unseen that is not always recognized consciously, okay? So then we have the left and the right. The left, which I somehow intended to be the masculine, was the Lady of the Inner Gate. And then the feminine was Our Lady of the Sacred Waters. 27, that's my number. Always see it, every day. So these were messages of, you know, that golden presence, that illumined presence that's eternal. And then the Lady of the Sacred Waters, you see, that's like the star energy in tarot, which is, you also have a body, you have feelings, you have the inner child, you feel things. You get emotional sometimes, which means they need to become equals. That which is the spiritual, but the physical expression, the physical feeling of reality, and also the quality of the masculine and feminine, which are now really wanting to merge, and they are merging. But it's the message that was channeled was the divine feminine of life, that presence makes the call. So when you are intending in the divine illumined union, you have to keep on fueling that call. And that's the divine passion coming from the above. It's guiding your process along the way. So there are moments, of course, when you don't feel. You feel a lack of that passion. You feel a lack of inspiration. You think, what the heck am I going? I'm putting so much into it and I'm getting so little return in the physical. Because you're only seeing one aspect, right? The physical aspect, confirmations that are coming through. You don't see much else unless you really, really evolve. When you do, much more. So you have to continuously work on life force mastery to get more evolved, to feel beyond this, which is you're tapping into at a certain level. And when the feminine divine makes this call, she's saying, I state that only my equal now comes to me. Okay, in that equal measure, in that harmony. That call goes out. Okay, that magnetism draws in that electric charge. And we might feel it's coming slowly, and there's all these interferences coming along, right? The lady that prevents interferences, yes. Maybe they're temporary sometimes, the setbacks, delays. We feel them like this. As a human, you would say there's a delay. In the divine, they would say, oh, there's a shifting taking place. So these shifts are not just daily, they're momentous in every moment. And what we really want to do now and be aware of is that at the larger level, this is prevented, which means is not going to be granted, you know, to play out, because we have been fueling so much power, sacred fire, the power of the sacred fire into these creations. And if we have, they've already reached the threshold, which there's no way back, even if the chaos of the world seems like it's inevitable. What is also inevitable is the love that you fueled into all of your creations. So if you've done that work, if you're part of this process, like here, like the sacred baby, the tree of life, the roses below and above, and there's a great meditation there. I think in the one of the 11. Should we read it? I hope my camera doesn't die, by the way. It wasn't really exactly super full. I think it was 50% or something, half, medium. Yes, let's do the exercise. Imagine red roses are blooming around your feet. They release a subtle fragrance and their petals seem soft like velvet. At the center of each red rose, a golden light shines, releasing radiant bursts of energy. Every burst of energy is a miracle of the Divine Mother taking place. The miracles bring solutions to impossible problems, healing in body and relationships, a windfall, a miraculous discovery, a finding of what was thought lost, a meeting of a soulmate, a path of light through the darkness bestowed. for endless miracles manifest again and again. You then become aware that you're standing in the center of a large red rose with soft velvet petals beneath your feet, and you're bathed with golden light. You are a living miracle of the Divine Mother made manifest. Say this prayer now. Say it with me. Holy Mother, Our Lady of Miracles manifesting. Ooh, such heat. I surrender myself to your grace, to your will, and to your divine plan of love. I ask that you happen through me. May I be a channel for your miracles of grace and healing in this world. May my life be spiritually fulfilled, and may I bring more of your light to the world. Through your holy grace, so be it. Then just rest for a moment for as long as it feels good and complete your session with the following affirmation. Mother Mary manifests her miracles through me as I unconditionally accept and celebrate her graceful presence in my body, mind, and soul. So be it, and so it is. So I hope you really had your own beautiful baptism day, self-initiation day, and to every day embracing more of the feminine principle of life. Because I also have moments when something on the outside, which is vile, and it's either arrogant or distorted, and people are just plain old mean, and it can, you know, cause my blood to go on fire. And then I ask myself, is this really my feeling? And the answer is always no. It's like feeling the environment, how much it's set on fire, but it's not that sacred fire of love. It's the fire of ego, that raw distortion. If it also has its fire in it, you know, it's like fire that burns. Ours is a fire that just gives life, that replenishes, that revitalizes. So that's the difference. There's a fire that burns, and there's a fire that creates. And when you feel that burning sensation, you have to come back to your center. And usually I come to this spot here, which is now officially my spot. As you can see, all my recent videos are located here because, as I've shared before, there's not a lot of sacred spaces left, especially now with tourists. There's still people coming here around, you know, it's like hard to record now. There's a huge influx of people here. It's very, very, very like full of energy. As you know, people leave their imprints and everywhere. Not as pure as it was before. But it's like I claim my space. I said, this is now my space. And there's one reality that I have back at home, which I don't really feel as my home. It's just a place where I eat and sleep for now. And it's a totally, you know, different way when I come here. It's beautiful. It's spiritual. I get these messages, activations. Then I have to go back and I see still these triggers and I have to apply it there. It's like, ooh, it's like a battleground there. And here's like, oh, beautiful space. And not even here is perfect because people come and do their things. But nowadays, it's really, really, really intense. And if you're not feeling it, probably not really, really deeply grounded into the world, what's happening is, as you know, the masters have shared with us before, there's a lot of false awakeness as well. There's a lot of New Age distortion where people are living in their bubble. But to be in the bubble is still being in isolation. To be in the world and not of it is not the same as being secluded in your bubble. It's being present in the world, but still maintaining your own creational abilities, your own reality within it. You hold your reality within it, but you don't feel yourself as separate from the rest. The rest is just playing their own things. But you have the right to create at your own level, your own frequency, your own level of embodiment. But you're not like in that bubble, which is a false bubble, which is an illusion. One day that bubble pops, you know that. When people are triggered by their soul, when they're ready, that bubble will burst, and they will see maybe the world is not as either fanatically expressed as they think. It's not as perfect as they thought. There's a lot of, you know, things happening that are not really a part of benevolence of true love, although love is still the glue behind everything. And when we get that, you know, and we start working with our bodies, and I really advise you to read that chapter if you have that book or if you maybe get it. It's really beautiful because it walks you through this journey of embracing Earth, our bodies, what our bodies can produce, our inner technology. You wouldn't even call the sacred blood a technology, but it is. It's a technology of light. You know, if we learn how to work with it, more with love and acceptance, we might have results that like we wouldn't even think of before if we still live in that separation. So, yes, this mysticism of giving life, of the meaning of blood. Blood is DNA. Blood codes are tiny little crystals inside. Menstrual blood, like I said, it's a part of blood that's just self-created. It's always just, it just appears to be, yes. And it's beautiful. It's a process of giving life and giving back the equality to both men and women by embracing this principle of life, applying it to our lives, Divine Trinity, of birthing the sacred child within. Watch previous videos to get more information on that. And remember, you're multidimensional, and that means not all is as it seems to be always, but it is what needs to be. So take care. You can check my page for more, and I'm there if whatever you require is resonant with you in the moment. With always so much love, wisdom, and power, and Divine Mother within and without. I love you guys. Bye. So, dear beloveds, I wanted to share with you this quick light activation or energy exercise, however you consider it. I was kind of interrupted before because there were so many people coming around, and I was a bit scattered and confused, so I didn't finish my description, and I decided instead to offer a full body exercise, this energy exercise of creating through the feminine principle of life and allowing this seamless creation to take place, to unfold within your reality. So it is very simple. I want you to join me now, if you are so called, through your heart space resonance, and just take a deep breath in and out and release yourself into your beautiful sacred space. Just feel the floating of the infinite stream of life force. As you can see, we're doing this by the sacred water stream, the water of life, representing the endless stream of the waters of life, the sacred feminine water, chalice of life. So now hold your beautiful desire, whatever you are creating or envisioning, in your heart space now. You may touch your heart gently with palms facing towards your heart. You may even embrace yourself. You may embrace your inner child this way, whatever calls you in this moment of the heart space connection. Now in this next space, you will see that you're glowing with golden light. Your heart exists within this golden light. And as a part of this infinite golden light, you are existing in the intricate design in this web of life, this creatrix design for all life and creation. Therefore, every desire you have is not, in a way, not important or rendered non-important in any way. Just feel and visualize in your creative space your most sacred intention, which is the intention of your soul. And as you connect with the Holy Mother principle, you may even speak your intention through the words, "The intention or the desire of my soul is," and always put it in the now moment. Let us now use an example by saying, "The intention of my sacred soul is to live as a sovereign being and to serve by being served myself first." So there is an interflow of energy created through the infinity symbol, the spiraling loop of consciousness that interconnects every facet of every design of life. As I'm being served through all my desires, always, no desire is seen or felt as not important, and all life works through supporting me, co-creating with me. Now, as you go deeper, you can even visualize a more personal details and intimate details, or even a relationship you have with this desire of yours, this secret or sacred desire. It makes no difference. Now, see yourself extending these hands that were placed on your heart space, fueling the passionate fire which we have received through the holiness of the Sacred Mother. That fire of the higher self which constantly burns and ignites, and there is no going back once you ignite that fire. Those flames keep on rising higher, and that's why they are aglow with that golden light that is all around you. Now with your hands now, gently create a V-shaped formation, almost like you're holding a sacred chalice, a chalice of life. Now as you state your sacred intention through the words, "The desire of my soul is of such and such," see yourself giving the breath of life by taking a deep in-breath. And with the out-breath, the sacred intention you have just invoked travels into this sacred chalice, the cup of life. And the codes that you are speaking through yourself and your soul sovereignty move into the sacred chalice. You now see the sacred chalice being stirred through the feminine principle of life, and you can see that as the golden spiral forming, and it almost is enamored by this sacred cup you're holding. You may see yourself holding this cup and creating an offering with it, an offering to this higher part of you, this godly, divine, this goddess aspect, the infinite force of life. And as this sacred mother of life sees into your cup and inspects your cup from every angle, you will see that being stirred through this golden spiral that comes from the infinite web of life in creation. And you will see the stirring process is creating like a little vortex or a whirlpool of energy in your sacred cup. It might gain more momentum, color, and structure now that is being almost like enmeshed with this divine mana, that the sacred goddess principle of life that you also have as an extension of your greater self is reevaluating this cup, is making love with what is in your cup, with this desire. It is recognizing it as its own birthing process, as its own sacred divine child. And as the cup is being stirred, you are seeing the elements in it more and more alchemized, refined, more subtle with each stirring, with each whirlpool, with each spiraling motion that moves divine mana in that cup, the cup of union, the cup of the unified desire, this desire born of love. And now you see that as this process is complete, what is in your cup is so refined that it almost feels like it instantly vaporizes or completely dissolves into this structure that you can truly only call divine mana, the divine intelligence, the goddess essence of life. And now you see it being instantly zapped through the spiral of life and taken into the domain of the Great Mother, which you are a divine extension of, an intricate part of. You are a child of this beautiful love of creation. Therefore, every manifesting desire you have is already an element in unity with this great creation. And now this cup you feel now forms outside of you in this great cosmic space, this web of life. And it almost feels like it will, in the reversed position, be flooded over you, on top of you, as a divine elixir of life, as this chalice overturned. Everything you've put into the great creatrix design being returned to you in an equal measure and manner. And it washes over you, and now it moves through every part of your body. And as it moves through every part of your body, beginning with your crown chakra, you will maybe touch gently or lightly or tap on that spot or just massage it a bit, rub it a bit. And on each aspect, you will release elements of what maybe prevents this energy that requires a pure containment and pure vessel embodiment. So at the level of your crown chakra, you might now tap on your head gently and release any false idea that you're not a part of this greater creatrix design. Now you'll move into the aspect of your third eye, and you will release this belief that you constantly need to visualize something in order to make it manifest. You will allow the visions to come naturally, to come forth as a sacred offering of the divine. As you move into your throat chakra, you will release all the pressure of constantly reaffirming and verbalizing yourself in a way that maybe does not serve you. Speaking words that are not of your alignment, of the highest resonance that you are now feeling you embody. As you move into the level of your heart, you now release lower feelings that are associated with feeling victimized in any way, that you cannot receive these higher desires in your life. And as you move into the area of your navel, of your solar plexus, you release every bit of control related to this creation design process. Every controlling force you ever had about yourself, about your body, any limitation you have adopted somehow and made into a belief structure. As you go a little lower, tap gently and again tune into the second chakra. You know, maybe especially if you're a woman, maybe gently massage your ovaries. If not, you can tap into this area as well and release any aspect or belief that in a way replaces this beautiful human sexual nature and the nature of orgasm with anything external, such as the sensualization of pleasure that comes through addictions to foods or other aspects of life that feel like they're feeding you and yet they're not truly fulfilling you at the deepest level, at your core. And just tap into that area. And now hold your first base chakra or gently tap into it and massage it a bit, just rub it a bit. And feel now releasing any pattern or belief or anything lowered within your field that makes you feel like you need to survive or create things that truly are not within your authentic nature. And that also make you feel that life on earth is not stable, pleasant, and joyful. Beliefs that make you feel that living on earth is suffering. It relates to constant challenges and trials and tribulations. Constant need to carry yourself through that toxic view of reality, and that reality is in some way limited, and that there's only creation through form, through material realm. Now you will see deep from the manifestation of your Kundalini, which now begins to rise as the gentle serpent moving up and up through your body, embracing yet again every one of these chakric centers you have connected with that exist in your body. These are the chakras that exist in your physical body. Then it coils around every one of these, ignites them again with the golden light, and unifies them. So you will see a white pillar, a column of white light forming and unifying all of these chakric centers so they can actually cooperate, work together as one. And you will feel a unification of all your bodies, your physical, your mental, your emotional, your etheric, your spiritual body. Moving deep into the realms of the causal self or the source self that carries all the programs that are the higher nature programs for your development and evolution here on this planet and beyond, activating the multidimensional nature of your beingness. Now, as this coiling serpent comes all the way up to your crown, which is the last chakra located in your physical body, it sends forth, it bursts or thrusts out into life, into an expanded version of the self, creating the multidimensional awareness or perception within your field of awareness, connecting you to the outside or externally located chakric centers in your other more subtle bodies that you also are a part of and creating with. And now embrace these sacred words: I am the creator of my reality. I am of the family of light, and I create with the element of love. Everything I manifest and bring into life is done so through the art, alchemy, and magic of divine love. Therefore, I am the art, the alchemy, the magic of divine love. It's the powerful self that I truly am. With this knowing, I take all my power back, and knowing that all my creations are occurring and unfolding through the presence of the Divine Mother, and the love flowing through the feminine principle of life, which calls for and embraces the masculine principle of life so they can co-create in unison in the unity of life, creating an illumined union and a template for new life here on earth and beyond. Thank you. So be it, and so it is. May you go forth in this awareness always.